Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Friday edition of the Corporate Gamer Podcast. I am your host, Corporate Gamer, and tonight we are talking about various things. Um, if you guys weren't turned off by the tweet that I sent out, we're going to be talking about X019 announcements, the big announcements that were done this week. It's the Xbox extravaganza event. Uh, PlayStation has their equivalent, PSX. So that happened this week. There's news about Google Stadia having a rough launch. They're supposed to go live soon, November 19th, I believe. But it looks like it's going to be a rough launch. There's missing a bunch of features on launch. We'll discuss that. Game releases for the week. And for discussion this week, yeah, it's not something that's game related per se. However, it's something that I wanted to talk about and give a little bit of context since I'm a Canadian. And this has made the news this week on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. It has divided the country essentially. Um, so yeah, I wanted to just talk about that for a little bit. But before we get to that, I wanted to talk about games, which is really cool. Um, to start off the week, I actually started getting. Um, I got something in the mail, a couple of things in the mail, which I'm really excited about, and I really want to stream, and I'm going to stream them soon. And it is the first one is Data East Classic Collection. This was not too expensive. I bought this on Amazon. It's by Retrobit. It's a collection. It's a multi-cart, and I'm a sucker for multi-carts. I've always have been. I know if you guys listen to my streams, you guys know that I'm an absolute sucker for this. Um, and In here you have Fighters History 2, Side Pocket, which is a beard game. You have um, Magical Drop and Magical Drop 2. So essentially, you have 5 games in this multi-cart. I'm looking forward to Fighter's History. It looks really, really cool. It looks like a Street Fighter ripoff, but I don't know because I've never played it. So yeah, that's that. Um, Side Pocket. It's a billiard game, pool game. It looks like it was. That's something that was really popular at one point, having like virtual pool. I don't know why. I always loved pool. I just never understood um, why people would play virtual pool. However, that was a thing. So you have this on here, and you have two bobble bobble types of games where you connect three of the same color, and it pops, and you can have competitive modes. So that's it. This is for the Super Nintendo, so I'm really looking forward to this. I'm gonna play this at one point. I'm gonna have to connect my Super NES and get this going. So that's my first thing. And just to prove that I'm a sucker for multi carts, a lot of these are Nintendo, but I have some for, and back then it was called multi carts, but then it was collections later on the Xbox and whatever. But I have like a 76 games in one, a 168 game in one, and a 500 game in one. The 500 in one is actually really recent. Um, it's something I got off on Amazon and I saw it and I was like, I need to get this, and I was really really intrigued. Um, so I'm looking forward to this. I've played a few games off of this. Mostly I played hockey, ice hockey, which is a Nintendo game. And there's a bunch of like, it's stupid because there's a bunch of games like Super Mario 13, which is like a cheap ripoff of whatever game. So there's really stupid games in 500, but um, the one that's probably the best one for the quality that you get is probably the 76 in one because and a lot of these games on these carts are unfinished games. They're usually beta versions. For example, if you play Donkey Kong, there's like no Donkey Kong banner on top. So it's something along those lines. So um, and I in on this 76 one, which is pretty cool because you actually have the list of games in the back. You have Pinball Urban Champion, which I actually posted this week. It was released on this day, 1984. Not today, but it was a couple of days ago, I think. Dig Dug, Excite Bike, Mappy, Circus Charlie, Tennis, Antarctic Adventure, Macross, Kung Fu, Combat F1 Race, Road Fighter, Twin B Wings, um, um, Big Apes 1, Big Apes 2, I don't even remember what that is. Ninja 2, Ninja 3, Wrestle, which I played, Karateka, which is good because the Karateka on this game is actually not the busted version. It's actually it's the one that actually you can complete the game. Um, the original game that I had, the original multi-cart that I had, for whatever reason, uh, didn't have a game that was functional till the end. When you got to the end, it would loop back to the previous screen, and it wouldn't be functional. So that technically the game never ended, which is pretty surprising, all things considered. Um, and yeah, so I've been a sucker for these, so I'm looking forward to the Data East playing it for you guys. I'm probably gonna be playing it. Hey, Weasel Beast, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Um, so I'm probably going to be playing a lot of Data East at one point during dead periods, because after I play or I finish um, the Outer Worlds, I don't know if I'm going to play the Jedi game, Fallen Jedi or whatever it's called. I don't know if I'm going to do that. So I'm looking forward to playing these. I don't know how good they are, but hey, we're gonna try them out. You know what I mean? And another purchase that I made that I was really, really happy to find. I've been trying to find this for the longest time on the original Xbox. I remember playing it, and yeah, no, we haven't. I just started. It's literally, I don't know, 11 minutes into the podcast. So no, I haven't I haven't hit X019 yet. I didn't even hit the trailer yet. So I'm just going with what I actually bought this week, and I haven't even gone. Well, I've just gone through this. So yeah, we're gonna talk about X019 announcements. Google Stadia looks like it's gonna be a massively rough launch. Game release. Game releases for the week, and I'm going to talk about Don Cherry. And in case you guys don't know who that is, it's a sports broadcaster that was fired from after being years on TV, and it's been pretty big in Canadian news for this week. So I wanted to give my 4.5 cents and try not to offend anybody, which is going to be very, very difficult. So yeah, and before I start, I wanted to say thank you to whoever is hosting me: Overwriter, Wasteland Ruckus, Psychosis, Angry Gorilla, Mr. Garf 1988, Gallows Adler, and some person that I have no clue how to pronounce it. SMFT Wisted SMF. So thank you for the host. I really appreciate it. And Weaselbeast, thank you for being on the podcast as usual and being on your on guard. Um, it's so weird because the viewership for this thing is weird. It doesn't show real viewer. The viewership count is has changed on um, on Twitch, and I don't know why. Um, for some reason, it seems to because I know there's like people on the stream, but they're not going to actually show the proper amount that's showing, which is weird. Anyways, that's 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 that. We'll see how that goes. Um, so another game that I've been really, really looking forward to, and I've been looking for this for a long time on the original Xbox, is Deus Ex: Invisible War. Um, I know it's not the superior game to the PC. Obviously, the PC was a lot better, but I'm really, really looking forward to this. It, I love the Deus Ex um, games. I love Human Revolution. I love Mankind Divided. I think where the games really took off from where they were. I look really forward to what they're going to do next. I don't know what's the plans for Eidos Montreal to actually create another Deus Ex game. Um, there's debate between which one's better, Human Revolution or Mankind Divided. I actually liked Mankind Divided very, very much. The DLC was a little bit wonky. One of the DLC system Rift is really, really is eh. It was really. It felt like they took it out from the middle of the game, and then they just decided to have people buy um, the DLC just to buy the DLC. However, A Criminal Past is really, really well. It accompanies the game really, really well. It's well done. It's a good length DLC. It's anywhere between 10 and 15 hours, depending on how you do it. I played it really, really slow, and it was really cool. So for that, I'm really looking forward um, to playing that. And yeah, so I got it. It's on the original Xbox. I will be playing it on the original Xbox. I still have my original Xbox. It still plays well. It's a little bit noisy, but it still plays well. And worst case scenario, if ever it does bust, I can buy one online. So, and I have a bunch of Xbox games that are not playable on any other platform. A lot of collections that I can't play. Like I have a Taito collection. I have there's a Genesis collection that came out at one point. I have a lot of them, and they're not compatible. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm going to be playing that. I don't know when, but I will be playing that. I'm going to try and play this during the holidays, actually. It'll be pretty cool. If I play this, I'll probably be on a retro stream as well. So I'll probably be on a Sunday sometime. I'm going to play through this, and I'm going to see where I end up. All right, so starting off, there was a where the hell is my cursor? There we go. There was an announcement at X019, which is the Xbox um, version of PSX, I guess. I think the last one they had was in. I don't remember if they had one last year, but I know that they definitely were touting it. This year they were promoting it, and I think they didn't disappoint. However, one of the things that actually caught my eye was the trailer for Bleeding Edge. And Bleeding Edge is a game that is it's by Ninja Theory, which got bought by Nintendo. Eh. Which got bought off by Microsoft. So it's one of their studios that they have. It's been touted as being released on Xbox One and Windows 10. I'm assuming it's going to be on Game Pass on day one, like any other games that get released on the platform. Um, Pretty cool. It's going to get a release of 24th of March 2020. So that spring is going to be freaking intense. You have this game. You're going to have Cyberpunk 2077, which I think is just going to kill everyone. A lot of games are getting released for the spring, and there's going to be almost nothing in the summer. And I remember Deus Ex. Speaking of Deus Ex, before Mankind Divided was supposed to come out in February, and it ended up coming out in August, and I think it benefited it because there was no big releases that month, and people actually went on and bought it and they played it. So um, it's going to be a very stacked time of year. I think Cyberpunk 2077 is being released in April, end of April, 20 something of April. So at least that's the tentative date right now. It could always get pushed. Um, so yeah, it looks pretty cool. So having said that, there's a trailer that got released. So we will watch it now.
Pull it, Buttercup! I said fire! Get them up! Damn you, you useless corpse!
There we go. It gives me that Borderlands 3 vibe with the look and feel of it. Um, but it looks pretty cool. I know that they did say that PC Gamer said that it was that the level design seemed weak. We'll see how that goes. But I did like the preview. It looked good. I don't know if I would buy it day one. However, it's going to be on Xbox Game Pass, so there's no reason to not play it. That's what I love about that system. It's really cool. You get to play games, and especially now that Xbox is going to um, release a lot of first-party games in next generation. Geez, I this is gonna look really cool, and it's gonna be really awesome. So that was Bleeding Edge. That was the trailer of the week. And having said that, we can dive right into X019. So X019 happened on November 14th, I believe, or 15th. Yeah, it was 15th. And it was held in London, I believe. And basically it's a gaming expo for Xbox specific things. So there's game announcements, hardware, whatever. They announce a bunch of shit. Um, in most cases, these things are usually lackluster because a lot of times they announce a lot of this stuff at E3, and you kind of get like the next version of something. But there's quite a few things that they announced that looks pretty cool. So they announced some stuff for Project X Cloud and Xbox Game Pass. So basically, it's their version of it's their version of like Google Stadia, essentially. So it's playing games in the cloud and everything. They've been touting it for a while. I think they've been testing it out, and it looks pretty freaking cool. So and the timing of this was pretty cool because they announced it when Google Stadia is about to go live as well, and that looks like it's going to be shaky, which is going to be the next thing we're going to talk about. So they're saying that there's going to be about 50 new games coming to the platform with 25 partners. I don't think they actually said who that was. And it will make its way to Windows 10 in 2020, which is pretty cool. Um, and Wow, the company is going all out with the xCloud since it also announced that over 3,500 games on Xbox One and about 1,900 games under development are already working in the service. While there's no exact date, xCloud will be expanding to new regions that include India in 2020. So that's pretty cool. However, I take it with a grain of salt as well. And the reason why I'm saying this is I do have more faith in Microsoft for this than Google. Um, I do believe that they can release a better product. However, I haven't really ever worked on it. I haven't tested it. I don't know how it's going to work. And there's no specifics that are accurate really right now. I don't see anything that really jumps out at me. So the fact that they've been testing this for a while gives me a little bit more faith in the service. However, um, the way that xCloud is structured is so much better than the way that it's structured um, for um, Stadia. Um, you don't have to buy the games. The games are yours until you're not on the service anymore, which is fine. I'm fine with that. It's the same idea as an old video store where you used to rent the games, and you don't own the games, but you can't rent them if um, the store wasn't there anymore, right? So, having said that, it looks pretty cool, and it looks like it's gonna be a really really good thing. And the fact everybody expected and knew that it was gonna come with Game Pass eventually, it was just something that they kind of both go hand in hand. And even Xbox Live Gold games with Gold, I don't even know if that's gonna exist at one point. I think they're just gonna merge everything together. But to be honest, I've had Xbox Game Pass, and there's games that I've played I don't own, and it's awesome. I was hyping Stadia, but now the only thing is that is for the potential to be able to push extra power at 4K and ray tracing problem at current gen. Otherwise, they don't put a subservice like Game Pass to it. It's going to die on arrival. Well, the it was already they turned off a lot of people when they said you have to buy the game on top of the service that you're buying. Like the whole reason I'm buying a subscription service. Um, so let's put this in a music world environment, right? So let's say I have, um, I don't know, I have um, Google Music. I have the monthly subscription, and then they tell me, well, if you want to listen to this album, 5150 by Van Halen, you have to buy it at 9.99 each. Now, what's the point of buying the subscription service? To have access to that, I can go to a music store, or I can buy the CD off Amazon or whatever, right? It's just that the model that they're going for is just they didn't think things through, and and this is where Xbox, I think, and Phil Spencer kind of understand gamers more. Um, they've been Microsoft has done very little. They haven't missed much in terms of services. They screwed up the launch, that is for sure. Well, yeah, of course. The fact that the fact that there's the founder. It's the people that bought the founder edition. They're gonna get they got they got really like screwed. Basically, they're early adopters. Like why? Anyways, and I guess I'm assuming Google at one point um, um, is going to do something to appease, but for now, and also the messaging was wrong. But to get back at Microsoft just for a second, it does seem where when Microsoft makes a decision, it's made. Yes, it's made by business people, but it's made with people. Well, to be honest, the infrastructure is there, right? So you have Xbox Game Pass, which is already there. Add in some, like, you don't have to. I'm assuming Game Pass is not going to be cloud only. You'll be able to download the game as well, like they do now. So if that's the case, that's going to be really cool because it's saying that it's receiving support for xCloud, but doesn't mean that it's going to be exclusively xCloud, right? Because the problem is with Xbox is they understand, or they seem to, that not everyone has high speed internet even today. So yeah, compared, it's not 56K, but a lot of them, like especially in the outskirts, when you have satellite or whatever, it's not it's not something that's easy to come by. So they understand that. So if you have a service that has both and you can play on the cloud, that's really really awesome. And now you're incorporating that within a service that already exists and that players already love the model. I'm really hard pressed to find anybody that doesn't like Xbox Game Pass. Maybe they complained about the actual games not there's not too many games that launch or whatever, but people have actually really embraced the idea, and I have it. And if I really wanted to, um, I wondered as well too, right? um, um, I wondered if it would work as well, right? A lot of other places, people have tried a different fields of trying a subscription model, but it hasn't always worked, and I think Xbox Game Pass just hit that sweet spot, and they just managed to make it just enough that it's worth it for every gamer to buy into it. And to be honest, with the Ultimate Edition, where you have Game Pass Ultimate, where it gives you the PC and the Xbox, my God, what a value! $16.99 a month. You get the games that are unreleased, and a lot of the games that are released on Xbox are going to be released on PC as well. Um, it's kind of their continuation or their next version of gaming on PC or always on PC or something along those lines. Yeah, and actually, I was thinking of you as well, and I'm going to go through the list here, but they had a super impressive demo of Flight Simulator, and it's the first time I've actually seen it, and it looks freaking awesome. It's insane. Um, it looks really, really good, and yeah, so I'm looking, and that's going to be on Xbox Game Pass and on Ultimate as well. So you don't even have to buy it. And I have a feeling if you're a fan of it, you'll try it, and if you like it, you'll buy it, which is the point of it. And I love the model, and I think personally the model serves the gaming community very, very, very well. PlayStation tried to do their own version with PSN. It has lackluster success. Um, it's not a bad service per se, but they it's Xbox just kind of owned it when they released it. And the reason why I didn't believe in Xbox Game Pass, at least at the beginning, was because Microsoft has a tendency of releasing something, screwing it up, and then the next iteration is the version that should have released the first time. They did that with Windows. You had Windows Vista, it sucked. Then it came out Windows 7, which was Windows Vista done right. Then they came out Windows 8, that was a clusterbuck. Windows 8.1, and then they came out Windows 10, which is Windows 8 done right. Right, so they kind of always do that, and they've done that all the time through the years. So I'm really looking forward to Xbox Game Pass, XCloud to see how it's going to be. And it's not because I'm a fanboy of an Xbox fanboy. I am an Xbox owner. That's the console that I have. I'm invested in Xbox Game Pass. I have the Game Pass. But subjectively, when you look at it, it's a very, very strong service. And I've played games that I would have never even thought of playing even there. And Xbox Live with Gold is the same thing. That's an insane value you're getting um, for your money, and it's really cool. And on the topic of Xbox Game Pass and XCloud, they're saying there's gonna be 50 new games that are joining the library. Yakuza, Final Fantasy, and Witcher 3, which is actually pretty cool. And Remnant from the Ashes are going to be there as well. And if you get Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which I did not know, you get EA access for a month, which to me doesn't really matter. 3 months of Discord Nitro, and 6 months of Spotify Premium, which is pretty cool actually for the price you pay. For everything you get with Game Pass and Ultimate for 16.99 Canadian, that's that's impressive and that's pretty cool. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. Like on the surface, it looks like an awesome service. XCloud, I don't have any details. I don't know if it's going to work or not. They may very well fall flat. But the fact that they have the infrastructure in place, I have a little bit more faith in the way it's going to be built. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that's Project xCloud and Game Pass. They announced Age of Empires 4, and they also announced Age of Empires 2 is going to be released on Game Pass as well. So that's cool. They released Bleeding Edge, like I mentioned before. This was the trailer. They released Everwild, which is kind of they're saying that it's if Sea of Thieves and classic games such as Banjo Kazooie, GoldenEye, Perfect Dream Bell, then the same team behind them, Rare, showcased a new IP called Everwild. So basically, they're saying it looks pretty cool. It looks like it has that look and feel of uh, Zelda. But we'll take a look at it together. I didn't fully look at the trailer either, so I'm trying to think the last time Rare came out with something somewhat decent. Yeah, it has that Zelda feel. Breath of the Wild. Thanks, Switch. Thanks for the sub. Hee-haw. How you doing? In the discussion period, I'm going to talk Don Cherry. Everwild. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, it has that Zelda feel to it. Um, so it seems to be pretty cool. Don't know much more about it. As I mentioned with you, Weasel, Flight Simulator. This looks freaking awesome. Like I just saw parts of it, and I was like, "Holy poops! This looks ridiculous." Like I've never been a big Flight Simulator fan, but this looks freaking awesome. Like the graphics are beyond, they're unreal. Imagine playing this on a 4K TV. This is insane. Look at that. That's just gorgeous. Into the sunset. That looked spectacular, and um, yeah, it looked really, really good, and I'm assuming it's going to be available on Game Pass as well, either through Ultimate or whatever, and I'm really leaning towards getting that when it comes out. It looks freaking stupidly good. They announced also Halo Reach being part of the Master Chief Collection. Honestly, I don't really care. It's going to be on December 3rd. It can either be bought separately for $10 or entire collection can be bought for 40 on the at Microsoft Store or Steam. So, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I don't know why they released a trailer. It's not as if like it did anything. Um, it's already released, or it's getting released, and there's already reviews that came out. To be honest, from what I saw, it kind of looks like the Outer Worlds meets meets Star Wars. It just that it looks more Star Warsy, like the graphics look more like Lucas and stuff like that, LucasArts. But it does apparently it looks like there's free range to do side missions stuff like that. But there's a linear story. It seems to be very very similar, at least from my impressions. I haven't played it. I don't know how it is, but um, and again they said that they're not gonna do any beta, but like everybody gets an advanced copy, so that's like kind of stupid. So those were the announcements, the major announcements that were made at X019. To me, Project X Cloud and Xbox Game Pass announcements were pretty impressive. Age and Empires Bleeding Edge was pretty cool as well. I couldn't really care for Flight Simulator. I'm happy as well. Everwild, it's okay. Halo Reach is okay, and Fallen Order doesn't really matter. Um, so we'll see where Project xCloud goes, especially with Google Stadia getting released very soon. And to be honest, that's a pretty good segue to our next story, which is Google Stadia. So Google Stadia is getting released November 19th, precisely in a few days. And it doesn't look like it's going to do much on day one. It looks like they promised everything, and now they're backpedaling, going, well, we never really said it would be available. We just said this is what it could do eventually. Um, so it looks like there's a lot of things, and like Weasel was saying before, if I'm the if I'm the number, my number one fan or player, and I bought the service, the Founders Edition for 130, I'm pissed because I paid 130 bucks for absolutely nothing. Number one of the main issues. I mean, even Game Pass had more than this on launch. Um, you have 12 games that are available as of day one. So you have Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Destiny 2, Guilt, which is a brand new game. It's the only new game in the list. Just Dance 2020, Kine, Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead Redemption 2, Samurai Showdown, Thumper, Tomb Raider, and 3 Tomb Raider games. 25-year collection, and the Tomb Raider Shadow of the Tomb Raider definitive edition. Um, I mean, there's big titles here. You have Red Dead Redemption, Mortal Kombat 1, and Odyssey. But other than that, I mean, it's a pretty weak sauce. Especially the fact, I don't know if it's because they don't have anybody, like the contracts that they've had, like they couldn't get the licenses right away. It just seems pretty weak. Like and like to be honest, like out of the 12 games, 1/4 of it is Tomb Raider. So I don't know. Um, Odyssey's been out for a while now. Most people that get the service, they probably have played it. Destiny 2 as well. Just Dance 2020. Why would you play a time sensitive game on the web? Like they say there's no latency, but I don't believe that. Um, Most people have probably played Tomb Raider, maybe not. Maybe it's something that they would look into. Thumper, Samurai Showdown, and Guilt. Guilt is a brand new game, which is fine. I don't know what kind is, but anyways, all that to say, it's not very um, exciting. Let's put it that way. It's kind of underwhelming. So you paid 130 bucks for what exactly? Um, yeah, so there's apparently limitations with launch units, which is insane that they would do this. Uh, you can only play it right now on Google devices, if I remember correctly. Um, so you can't play it on a Windows machine or Windows or laptop or whatever. It won't work. It'll only work if you have and it won't even work on a regular Chromecast. You have to get the new Chromecast Ultra in order for it to work. So if you have an existing Chromecast, you're shit out of luck, bruh. It's not gonna look. It doesn't look very good, and I don't know. If I played 130 bucks, that's one thing as well. And there's another thing. Yeah, so this is where the Chromecast optional. So you can only buy it on that. Much standard game console functionalities in there instead of, yeah. So anything that's pretty much that's made consoles interesting in the last few years, or made like either PlayStation or Xbox, it's not going to be there. So if you, basically achievement tracking is not going to be there. No customization options. No partying up with friends. It's limited to PC and TV with mobile support coming later. And in addition to that, if that's not enough, which I just mentioned, it'll only work if you have only smartphones Google Stadia will run on at launch are Google Pixel line of smartphones, starting with the Pixel 2. The only TVs Google Stadia will run on at launch are the ones with Chromecast Ultra connected. That means no iPhone users, no iPad users, no Android smartphone users who don't have a Pixel 2 or better, and no smart TV users who don't have Google's highest end, most expensive streaming stick. So that's not good. And also, there's a lot of stuff that they mentioned at launch, like state share, which essentially the idea sounds great, which is basically you save the state, you send a link to your buddy, they click on the link and they continue where you left off. Sounds great. I don't know really how useful or what the use case is for that, but it won't be ready as day one, which is a specific, it's a selling point for the Stadia, if anything, because it was a unique something that they offered that others did not. Um, but hey, we'll see how that goes. And the way and this is what they said. Now keep in mind throughout E3 or every time we saw these announcements, they mentioned the list of features, the list of specs, but they actually said like they never technically said it would be at launch and it would just evolve. But a lot of the functionality you would expect it like you've announced this like almost 2 years ago. You expect that. However, their quote is our approach to releasing features on Stadia is similar to how we run Google Search, YouTube, and other Google services, which we know how that goes. Uh, Gradual rollout and continuous improvement based on your feedback, Dorchev, uh, Doronichev said. We always start with nailing the key user journey and then proceed with releasing extra features. YouTube started with watch video. For Stadia, it's play the game on your biggest screen. Now features will start popping out as soon as launch. Yeah, but you can't even watch it on your TV unless you have the new Ultra. Like even that is kind of a bit of a other features like Crowd Play and Stream Connect are set to arrive in 2020. And of course, there are many more cool new platform features on roadmap. We're aiming to release new stuff weekly after the 19th of November. Oh yeah, and Google Assistant is not ready for Stadia either. Why don't you just pile it on at this point? Um, so yeah, um, it's a little bit underwhelming. Like nobody, I haven't tested. I didn't buy it. I don't know anybody that's bought it. But and if you have, please let me know if how it works. But on features alone, it doesn't look that great. And they had to backpedal a few times. Um, and that's kind of like um, a bad sign. Um, so they had to roll back a few of their announcements, stuff like that. So now it's kind of like a skeleton thing. So if I'm a Founders Edition, what am I getting out of this? What's the value? I can't use it on half of my stuff. Yeah, you get a controller, but I mean, whatever. Um, I'll have to actually, after November 19th, we'll have to see people playing it and see how much it lags or it doesn't. Um, I mean, again, I've had this discussion numerous times on my stream. It really depends on where you are and what kind of in connection you can get. Um, maybe even big cities. I was saying, I think in big cities it's something that you can get, but then somebody was saying, I think it was Kenny, he was saying that, well, even if you are, there's more people using the service, so the service is going to be slow anyways, right? So there's congestion, and it's true, and it's right. So like technically, there's nothing that really says you're never going to get the full bandwidth. Hey, Coinop, how's it going? Just talking about Google Stadia and how it's kind of underwhelming how it's going to get released. So that's where uh, Project xCloud from Xbox can do it well, and I think they have the infrastructure to do it. Um, you have uh, congratulations going up. You made it to another weekend. Um, and yes, it is Friday. Root, root. Um, the infrastructure for Project xCloud is there. You have Xbox Game Pass. You have, and Game Pass is going to have both the download version and the online version. And I think that's a good middle ground where you're not imposing it on other people. However, if you want to play it on your phone or whatever, that's something that's going to be really cool, and you'll be able to play on your phone. So that kind of makes your phone like a Switch type of thing, right? Um, Stuff like that. And on top of that, Game Pass is going to be, if I remember correctly, that's going to be on the Switch as well. Like Xbox, if they remotely do a quarter of what they're promising to do, it's going to be pretty impressive, and they're going to be on multiple consoles. And if you're playing on think about it, if you're playing on a Switch and you're playing on, let's say it's as advertised, and you're playing on the Switch, playing an Xbox game on the fly. Wow, that's insane, and that's amazing. So yeah, I don't know how Google Stadia is going to get out of this one. And Google has a tendency of calling it quits on shit that doesn't work. So we'll see in a couple of years if the service is still there. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. They can, they could learn from their mistakes and make it better. But I don't really. They made one misstep one after the other by saying, "Hey, by the way, you still have to buy this. You still have to buy the game. Is it yours? Well, not really. Well, then what's the hell?" Initially, that's what they had said. Then they said, "Yeah, you own it. But if the service doesn't work anymore, then where can you play it?" Right? At least now with Xbox, you have, yeah, there's the digital version, which is cool. If the Xbox doesn't exist anymore, at least you can still play it, and there's still physical copies, right? You can still buy, at least for now. It's gonna go in the it's gonna be disappearing soon, but at least for now, you can still buy the physical copy, which I have. For a lot of the games that I really want and I really enjoy playing, I bought the games. I bought Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I bought Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. I bought The Witcher 3, um, Halo 5. The games that I wanted to own, I've owned. I can play it on Game Pass. A lot of them are available, and actually, Witcher 3 is going to be available on Game Pass soon. And maybe that's when I'm going to start playing because I don't have the DLC. I would have to buy it because I don't have the Game of the Year edition. I just bought the original. But maybe it's an opportunity to play the DLC if it's available. So, um, yeah, let me know what you guys think about Google Stadia. I'm not overly optimistic. Um, and I don't know. I'm hoping by Christmas we'll see how it really is working. If it is really buggy on day one, it's not gonna work. Then again, a lot of people had problems with Disney Plus on day one. They couldn't watch anything. So, um, all right. So games getting released between November 12th and the 18th. Uh, why would anybody come out with Bee Simulator? I have no clue. Uh, well, the Atari VCS doesn't. Is it still a thing? I don't even think they created. They touted a console and then they did a redesign, but it was like a really souped up version of an emulator, which is kind of shitty. You can't even play the original games on there. So yeah, the Atari VCS was it's the same thing as the ColecoVision. They were supposed to create a new ColecoVision where you can play like real cartridges and stuff, and that died in the water like really quickly. So, Bee Simulator. Why would anybody buy that? I have no clue. Doctor Who: The Edge of Time for PS4. Thief of Thieves Season 1 on the Switch. If you guys haven't played Thief of Thieves, it's a really good game. Surprisingly good. And that's one of those games I played on Game Pass. I downloaded it because I never played it before. It was pretty interesting. I don't know if they're going to come out with a second season, but that one was pretty cool. The Legend of Bumbo on PC. I have no clue what that is. November 13th, we have Dead End Job for the Switch, Hold Down for the Switch, Last Labyrinth for the PS4, Mercenary Wings for the False Phoenix for PS4, Spider Solitaire on the Xbox One, and 13 for the PC, X3, for the PC, PS4, Switch, and PS4. They said it twice. By the way, Squarespace is not sponsoring my podcast. There's a big ad at the bottom of the screen. November 14th, Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition on PC. It's also available, I believe, or it's going to be available on Game Pass. What else here? That's Labyrinth of the Witch is not too bad. The other games I haven't really, I don't really know what they are, to be honest. But then again, I'm not in the know of everything, so. Cube Creator X, Fractured Minds, Galactic Defense Squadron, Kitten D, Labyrinth of the Witch, Mad Games Tycoon, The Nixter 15, thank you for the host. Perils of Baking, that sounds interesting. Push the Crate, Rocket Wars, Scarlet Mysteries, Cursed Child, Some Distant Memory, Sparklight, Squidgy's Takeover, Stormland, Sudoku, Relax 3, Autumn Leaves for the Switch, The Tourist on the Switch, and Turkey Please for the 3DS. November 15th, we have Astroneer, Go Fish Go, Golem, Mars Power Industries, Pokemon Shield for the Switch, Pokemon Sword for the Switch, and then you have Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield Double Pack. I don't know. I'm assuming there's an advantage of buying the double pack. At least I'm hoping there's a rebate. Raining Blob, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That's the one that everybody is probably going to be playing if they finish the New Order. Not the New Order, the Outer Worlds. I don't know why I said the New Order. It, like I said before, it really does look like the Outer Worlds, but with a Star Wars setting. So it looks fun. It looks like the Star Wars game that we've wanted for a very long time, and let's hope it doesn't get fucked up. Tactical Mind 2 for the Switch. The Sims 4 Discover University expansion pack. How many expansion packs do they have for the Sim 4? There's one like every month or so, which is insane. And who calls their stuff expansion packs anymore? That's like a term from like the 90s. Tokyo Warfare Turbo on the Xbox One, Valfaris for the Xbox One, and Woven PS4, Switch, Xbox One. And on November 18th, we got Blue Kid 2 for the Switch. And those are the games that are getting released for the next week. Let me know which ones that interest you. For me, the ones that jump out to me is Age of Empires 2, the definitive edition. That's pretty cool. I've never actually played any of them, but they look really fun to play, and I may actually play them on stream at one point. So it looks pretty cool. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Shield look interesting. I don't know who gets excited for Sims 4 other than Lazy Game LGR, Lazy Game Reviews. He always tests and plays the expansion packs. So that's it. Let me know what you guys think and what you guys are looking forward to. And on to our discussion of the night. And Switchy, if you're still here, this will be for you. This has been a very divisive topic in Canada for the last week or so. But I want to start with the beginning, and I want to give a background of the person himself. So in the news, it has made the rounds of news where Don Cherry, who is known to have his coach's corner on Hockey Night in Canada. Yes, it's a Canadian thing. Um, have he has a, I don't know, 10-minute bit where he has a co-host. Well, he's the guest. He's been a guest for like 35 years, for whatever it is. And Ron McLean, who's the host of the actual segment, and they've been together for quite a long time, and he actually goes by the name of Grapes as well. Um, and it's basically he gives like input on hockey, and he gives his viewpoints on certain things and so on. So he was for on CBC for the longest time, and then when Rogers bought the rights to the NHL rights, they fell under Rogers and Rogers Sportsnet. So last week, after some comments, which I'm going to get into later, he was released of his role. He was fired from Sportsnet, and this made this whole thing. Where if you look on the internet, apparently there's a one side of the aisle, there's the other side of the aisle, and one side says the other side sucks, and they both say you're all wrong. And I wanted to give a bit of context and nuance into, because I don't feel that anybody actually ever gave a proper analysis on why this happened, and why and why there's been a lot of conversations about this, and why people feel passionate about. So to give you a little bit of context about Don Cherry was primarily known for being he played for a few teams he played for Boston. He played one game for Boston in the playoffs, and he played for the Vancouver Canucks when they were in the WHA in 68-69. I think you can see it here. Yeah, so he played for the Boston Bruins. He played one game in the playoffs, and he was pretty much in the WHL and the AHL most of his career. And then the closest thing is WHL. He was with the Vancouver Canucks. And then when he retired, shortly after, he became, I guess he retired close. Yeah, he became a coach. He was minor league coach for a few years, and then he got promoted to the NHL. And he coached the Boston Bruins, and he actually did pretty good, all things considered. So this was the record. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with hockey, but you have pretty much back then you had win, loss, and ties. Ties was after a 5 minute overtime. If nobody scores, it was considered a tie. Nowadays, if you play a 5 minute overtime, if there's nothing, then you have a shootout, and the winner gets 2 points, the loser gets 1 point essentially. However, looking at his record, he did pretty good. His first year in Boston coaching, he had 40 wins and a total of 94 points. He was second in the Adams division, but he lost in the first round. Then the year after, and after that, he pretty much was first in the division every year with pretty impressive numbers. He had a winning percentage. He had a number of wins was like 48, 49, 51. Pretty impressive, and 100 in last year. Every year he was number one in the division. However, he never ended up winning a Stanley Cup. He lost in the semifinals in 75-76. He lost in the Stanley Cup finals in 76-77. He lost in the Stanley Cup finals in 77-78. And in 78-79, it's the very famous Don Cherry. If you looked at the Coach's Corner, there's at the end of that whole theme song or whatever, you have him on the bench waving his arms like this, and basically, um, back then it was kind of a thing where the Montreal Canadiens would have people would think that the Montreal Canadiens had favoritism, especially when they were at home, and there was like uh, phantom penalties being given to the opposing team. And actually, what was pretty cool is that for Boston, they almost eliminated the Montreal Canadiens. They were tied. No, they were winning at the end of the third period, or close to the end of the third period, and there was a too many men on the ice penalty, and that was um, and then that was called. The subsequent power play. And what a power play is, for those who don't know, is basically somebody goes into the penalty box. Yes, there's actually a thing called the penalty box. And basically, for 2 minutes, you play. There's 5 players on each team, skaters on each team, plus a goalie. But when you get to have a player in the penalty box, it's 5-on-4. So you're playing with one man down. So for the subsequent power play, one of our big snipers, Guy Lafleur, ended up scoring to tie the game late in the game. It was like 2 minutes left in the game or something along those lines. And subsequently, in the overtime, Montreal ended up scoring. I believe it wasn't Lemaire. I don't think it was Lemaire that scored, but it was somebody from his line. I think Lemaire passed to. Um, I don't remember who he passed to, but he did pass it to somebody. Anyways, they scored. They won this. They won the. They ended up winning the series, and Montreal ended up winning the Stanley Cup that year. However, it was Don Cherry has never been a really good guy to deal with. He never liked management much, and he was butting heads with the general manager Harry Sinden at the time. And they released him. They let him go, even though he had such a great record. He wasn't able to get anywhere in the playoffs. He never won in the playoffs. And he coached some pretty good players too. He coached Bobby Orr. He coached Phil Esposito. He coached some pretty good players, but he never actually won anything. The year after, he coached one other team for 1 year, the Colorado Rockies, which not to be confused with Colorado Rockies in baseball. Now they're called the Colorado Avalanche, but the team in Colorado is called the Avalanche, but they didn't become the Colorado Avalanche. The Colorado Rockies, I think, became the New Jersey Devils. Anyway, so he only coached 1 year, abysmal season, missed the playoffs. Again, scenario where he didn't get along um with the management, and they let him go. So that was pretty much the end of his run as coach in the NHL, and pretty much his coaching career. So, having said that, he started doing either color commentary or something along those lines, and that didn't last too long because he's not really good at that. He's good at commentary, but he's not good at during games. And the reason why they cut him loose, apparently, which is not surprising. Um, so mostly when you have a team playing, broadcasted, usually the broadcaster, especially in national games, tries to be even keel, like not cheer for one team or the other, just likes to appreciate the game. However, Don Cherry had a tendency of rooting for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins when they would play, like overly, uh, like being like a heel commentator in wrestling, similar to that, just not to that extreme, but similar to that. He would always cheer for the team that he supported. So the CBC at the time, they're like, we don't like that, so they kind of got him out of that. So then they started doing in the mid '80s. They replaced Dave Hodge, which is the guy that used to do that Hockey Night in Canada Coach's Corner thingy, and they replaced him with Ron McLean. And then this is where pretty much Coach's Corner was first started, and it was a 10-minute, if anything, uh, time between the first and the second period where they would um, talk about a few talking points of the week. Um, and that's pretty much how it started. Now, there's other things that he did, other things in between, and I'm not going through there. I'm just going to go with what Coach's Corner is, which is where he got fired. So he's been doing that ever since. And at the beginning, I used to like watching him because he was somewhat funny. And the banter between Ron McLean and Don Cherry was fun to watch. It was fun. It was entertainment, right? Um, and then he started. He always managed to. Thank you for the host, Engineering Gaming Nerd. Um, he ended up uh, with years. He would always try to. Okay, let me preface this. He comes from a time and era of hockey that was a certain way. The way that the Boston Bruins used to play was he built a team of quote unquote blue collar workers where it's essentially grind, hit, and that's where the big bad Bruins came into play. And he was known to be flamboyant and he was known to be extravagant in his way of doing things. Then he started doing Coach's Corner, and then he was like doing bits and here and there, and it was pretty okay for a little bit of time, for a period of time. And then, at least from my perspective, and that's when I kind of stopped watching it on a regular basis. It's in the mid '90s. He started being a little bit more. He has this attitude already, but it's kind of like that "f this world" type of thing, where he just says what he thinks, and he doesn't necessarily have a filter. And sometimes when he says things, the underlying message is what he's saying is not necessarily wrong, but it's the framing or the way he says it, which sounds like condescending or horrible or really derogatory. Sometimes he just says something that's derogatory, and the substance of it is garbage. Like on one point, um, he at one point called the Finnish-born Winnipeg Jets assistant coach Alpo Suhonen uh, some kind of dog food, um, stuff like that. And he's called like some hockey players from Montreal French frogs in the past, um, stuff like that. So fast forward to now, and the broadcast in question, I actually was watching it, and what he said was, and I quote, because it is here. So he was talking about Remembrance Day. So basically, it's our Canadians' versions of Veterans Day. It's called Remembrance Day, and the way that it's celebrated is for the month of October, usually the mid October till the date. Um, Armed forces or veterans will go out and have stations or kiosks a little bit everywhere in malls and grocery stores or whatever. And for a donation, you can get a poppy and you can wear a poppy in remembrance of the veterans who fought for us in the war. However, um, he was talking about pretty much the underlying message was not enough people buy poppies, and you should, as it should be your duty as a Canadian, like more people should be buying poppies, which that message technically is not wrong. However, what he said was that, and I quote, "You people that come here, you love your way of life, you love our milk and honey. At least you can pay a couple of bucks for a poppy or something like that." So these guys paid for your way of life, and you enjoy in Canada. These guys paid the biggest price. So basically, what he's saying, essentially, or at least how it's been interpreted by people, is that you have, like, you immigrants, you don't appreciate Canada because you're not wearing a poppy. Essentially, that's what it kind of came off as. The underlying message was, well, not enough people wear poppies. Now, he could have phrased this a lot better. He could have said, every Canadian should wear a poppy. There we go. You're done. But when you're starting to say "you people," that's when, well, it comes off as harsh. Exactly. Now, again, he's one of those people that doesn't have a filter, so he doesn't really. He has a tendency of like not thinking before he talks. He'll say something, and he's really like, this is not new. He has this there's been this talking points in the late 80s. At one point, now it's more in the States. You hear it more in the States, but at one point in Canada, and I don't hear it as much as I used to. It used to be the immigrants are taking our jobs. They're coming here, they're taking all of our jobs. There's nothing really that supports that, really. And on top of that, it's a lot harder for an immigrant to come to Canada now than even it is to go in the States. So um, technically, that is there's nothing that supports that, but that was a rhetoric that was spoken about, and he truly believes that, right? Yeah, the the immigrants are coming in and taking our fishing jobs. Okay, but let no like it's just a blanket statement, and it's not necessarily true. It's very possible it's something similar to like in the States where they had a similar discussion where they were saying, well, all the immigrants, they're taking all our jobs. Well, some of the immigrants are picking strawberries. Nobody wants to pick strawberries, so they do it, right? It's a job. Similar idea where there's no jobs, they land in Newfoundland where there's nothing there, essentially. At least it's a lot more open. Like the industries that are there, it's fishing. It's more traditional Canadian, um, type of. It's not like a Montreal per se, where it's a booming economy with, and it's known to be like the mecca of programming for games. It's not that. It's Newfoundland is more of a. It's similar to the prairies in the sense that it's more farming, it's more fishing, and the Maritimes are the same as well. So he was saying that immigrants are taking our jobs, blah blah blah. So that was a talking point that he kind of truly believed, and he's gone on record to actually mention that. Um, Now, having said that, um, did this merit him getting fired? And this is where there's nuance to this, where a lot of people don't really. Well, what he said is horrible. Yeah, but it's not the worst thing he's ever said, and nothing ever came of it, right? Um, what he said, was it right? No, it was not right by any means. However, the underlying message was right. He just didn't express it properly. Um, Regardless, a Canadian, either you're an immigrant or not, if you're a Canadian, you're a Canadian. And Canadians should wear more poppies. And it's been shown that less and less people buy poppies, right? And it has been, people just don't care anymore, right? And it is a thing. Like, it is a legitimate thing. Just don't blame certain people for not wearing poppies. So the messaging kind of irked people the wrong way. There was backlash. And it's not the first time that there's been backlash. However, it is the first time that he's actually done something like this while with Rogers. So when he was with CBC proper back in the day, he's had this numerous times. There's a massive backlash. People criticize him, whatever, and then they go on to the next week. This time around, it didn't fly, um, and it kind of they booted him out of the door. That's number one. However, I want to say that it's been about 10 years where Coach's Corner wasn't good, really. He would usually make a comment at first about the Toronto Maple Leafs all the time. Toronto Maple Leafs or Boston Bruins, even on a Montreal Canadiens broadcast or whatever the case may be. It was horrible. Uh, it's like, okay, we know you're pro Toronto, and that's where his colored commentating days kind of didn't go very well, right? Where his allegiances are. Um, Before you were able to say, he would say, okay, he would put like a piece of equipment, and he would say, okay, players today, they should wear a glove that goes to here, like right, and then if you get slashed, you don't get hurt. However, the big scorers usually they used to wear shorter ones where it stops at the wrist, and then he would show the difference and why one, and that was okay. And he always promoted the fact that um, you know he was a pro veterans. He supported the veterans. He did a lot for them. He does a lot of fundraising for them, and stuff like that, and sick kids and stuff like that. He's done a lot of good work. However, he has this I don't give a shit attitude, and a lot of times in the last little while, his segments were he was either rambling on or he forgot what he was supposed to be talking about. But the guy is 85, right? He's 85 years old as of today, right? Um, for me personally, like apparently he's the seventh most liked Canadian. I don't know really. I used to like him at one point. I didn't care. It was time for him to. It was time for them to change. I don't know what they're gonna do, but it was time for them to change the way that Hockey Night in Canada actually works, and Hockey Night and the coach's corner and how it actually is. He wasn't bringing any value. Um, the game of hockey has passed him by. He still lives in the 70s where you hit, you hit to injure, you hit to slow down the other guy. Um, you know, he lives in that time and era, and times have changed. Hockey's not like that anymore. Yes, there's hitting, but there's no, there's more finesse now. There's more speed. The players are not necessarily big guys. They're smaller players. They're speedy guys, and sometimes his point of view didn't fit with what the NHL was right now. It didn't. So that's why a lot of people would like, okay, whatever. Like in the past, where he would say something, you kind of, okay, that makes sense. Towards the end, or at least the last 5, 10 years, it wasn't really. He didn't really add anything to the conversation, and the segments felt as if they were getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Um, there was a set like at the beginning they would literally say coach's corner, do the theme song, have a commercial break, do the segment that was maybe 5 minutes, and then have the outro again. Like it was almost useless to have the segment. Like it didn't add anything to anything. So I think what happened, in my honest opinion, um, and again, I don't condone what he said, but I don't think that what he said was the worst thing he ever said. I don't think he said stuff that's a lot worse. However, I think Rogers was looking for a way to kick him out, and they found no, they were waiting for him to step up, to trip up, and Sportsnet apologized, but he refused to apologize. Apparently, the rumor has it, and I don't know if it's true or not. Apparently, um, he was approached to actually apologize. He was told to apologize. He had to do an apology and something else, and he refused to do it, and he refused to apologize. So basically, they said, okay, well, screw that. Bye. So it's time for new blood to come in. Was he absolutely loved by all Canadians? From the backlash I see online, I think um, he did have his fans. He did have his supporters. Um, and those guys are going to go to bat for him because he did do some good things. However, I think his nonchalant, um, way of talking to fans and saying to whatever comes to the top of his mind is a little bit of it caught up with him, and he's 85. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't want to say ageism is a thing, but he didn't seem to be as on the ball as he used to be at the beginning of his career when he was analyzing stuff. He didn't seem to be. I think it was just honestly, I said I think almost 10 years ago that it was time for them to change, and at the time it was still CBC. It was still on another channel. It wasn't Rogers yet. It was like it was already 20 years he was doing it. It was time to step away, and he kept doing it, and I'm assuming they would have kept doing it till he died, essentially. Um, and he does have a lot of his followers, but I think it was just time for him to go. And I think everybody's throwing this out of proportion. Um, in today's day and age, people are more sensitive to stuff like that. It's just either you agree with it or not. It's just the nature of how culture is right now. Um, People have a tendency um, of saying, taking you going, oh my God, you said this, you said that. Okay, but what's the contents? What's the nuance? Listen to what the other person has to say. It doesn't necessarily, maybe it came out wrong, maybe it didn't, no. But however, he kept getting chances over and over and over again, and he was always making the headlines some way or another, and never for a good necessarily for a good reason. Usually, when he made headlines, it's because he said something out of place or he didn't agree with it, and blah blah blah, and whatever the case may be. So that's my take on it. Should he have been fired for what he said on this particular one? No, I think it was an accumulation of stuff. But I think in general, it was time for him to just. It was time for them to move on from him to do something else. Um, I don't think he's going to change. He's 85. He's set in his ways. I'm sure he's going to find some other way of entertaining Canadians. I personally, I don't think I like. They came out with a few TV movies about him, and I'm like, I didn't really watch them because I don't really care. It was entertaining for a while, but how many TV shows last 33 seasons? So yeah, that's my take on it. I think it was time for them to move on. They were just looking for a reason for him to say something out of line that didn't appeal to the mass, and that got a lot of complaints. And he should have been fired a long time ago from TV for stuff that was a lot more harsher. But it was a different time. So it's easy to say in hindsight 2020, oh, you should have been. This should have happened this many years ago. However, he was always against. He was so against Russian. Like he didn't. He never considered the Detroit Red Wings a contender because they had so many Russians on their team. He used to call them the foreigners or something like that. So you see, like it's something that was ingrained. It's something he supported for years, and I don't know, it just caught up with him essentially. So what he said wasn't right by any means, and I would say that we should support our troops and buy at least a poppy, even if it's just $1, just to support. Yes, hindsight 2019. Yes, indeed. Uh, so yeah, it's a weird thing because you can't level with people anymore. You can't talk to them and say, well, like I have a platform where I'm expressing my view on the situation. It's not gaming related or anything, but it's my view on the situation. Uh, and I try to be as fair as I can be analyzing the situation. It's my nature. I was a pro I'm a programmer. I'm a tester, product tester. So I know, no, you take everything and you try and analyze everything. But it seems that in today's day and age, you're either on team A or team B, regardless of the issue. And if you're on team A, you want to hear nothing about team B, and if you're on team B, you don't want to hear anything about team A because team A is wrong. And that's the way it is. And not everything is like that. It's like I think the internet made people worse because it used to be rarer when you used to meet with somebody, and you would tell them, um, have a discussion with them. Usually, at least in the past, you would have a discussion where I give you my points. Sometimes you sway the other person in your favor. Sometimes they sway you in the other way. Once you show the facts and you show the point of view, you're like, oh, you know what? That makes sense. That doesn't seem to exist anymore. There seems to be no middle ground, and I don't know. I don't know when that started. Either it was, and I think it was a little bit like brought up to another level with Trump. It seems that if you're a Trump supporter, that's it, you're done. And if you're not a Trump supporter, well, that's it, you're done. Right? There's two schools of thought, and Either you agree with it or not. That's not the point. The point is, it seems that you can't have a conversation anymore, and that's the sad part about any issue, political, religion, whatever. You can't have a level-headed discussion, and it's a shame. And I hope that I explained this as well as I could. Um, to be honest, I've tried. I'm trying not to offend too many people, but I hope that I was able to explain the situation a little bit more and see. And it's not the first time this has happened. People have been fired for numerous reasons because of what they said on TV or whatever the case may be. So this won't be the first, and this was not the first, and this won't be the last. Um, However, I hope that I shed some light on the situation, and I gave you my point of view, and you guys can let me know how. I know not many of you probably know who Don Cherry is. If you are a hockey fan, you probably do. Even in the States or in Boston circles, you probably know who he is. But in general, most people don't know. It's more of a hockey Canadian thing because he's a Canadian guy from Kingston, Ontario. And yeah, that's it. That was my take on that. And that was the talking point of the night. Let me know what you guys think. I am done for the night. This is a slightly shorter podcast than normal, but I am done for the night. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm looking forward to playing my Data East multi-cart with Fighters History and Magical Drop 1 and 2. Really looking forward to this. And I was very, very thrilled when I was able to find Deus Ex Invisible War on the original Xbox. I'm looking forward to play this a lot. Um, and I'm really, really, really stoked to play this. I haven't played this in so long. Um, this looks really fun. I think it wasn't as good. I think it wasn't as good as the one on PC for sure. Because this is the second one. The first one was just Deus Ex, and that one never got released on console. And I may actually buy it on GOG. They have a sale on GOG, so I may actually get it. It's super cheap, so I may actually get it and play it on stream. I did stream Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, whole full playthroughs, and I'm sure I'm gonna go back to them at one point in time. I just like playing these games, and they're always fun. So if you guys want to read my reviews, you can go to roundtable.ca, where you can read TV, music, movies, and any kind of review you want, really. Thank you for watching the podcast. I know it's not, like I mentioned before, it's not always going to be about 100% games. I do put in some game stuff in there. In this case, this week, I put in my point of view on something that was happening in the news. And but you did get some Google Stadia news, some X019 news. I showed the Bleeding Edge trailer, and also I gave you what I bought and what I'm going to be playing soon. I should be getting back to the Outer Worlds. I didn't stream that much this week. I was pretty busy with work, and when I got home, I wasn't. I was pretty tired, so I didn't have time to stream. However, thank you so much for showing up. Switchy streams, Switchy, Coin Op, Weasel Beast. You guys are awesome. Love you guys. Thank you to whoever is hosted me. Overrider, Wasteland Ruckus, Psychosis, Angry Gorilla, Mr. Garp 1988, Gallows Adler, SMF, Twisted SMF. I just realized what that was. Big Bad Bizarre Gaming, the Nixter 15, and Engineering Gaming Nerd, and Switchy Streams. Thank you so much for the the, the sub. Really appreciate it. You rock, kind sir. And I shall see you next time. All right, guys. Have a good one.